Hello Enterprise class, so we're going to read a little bit more of Harry Potter. We are still on the chapter called Gilderoy Lockhart, and we've just got up to the point where the children have gone in to his class for the very first time. We've met him in the past when he has been in the bookshop handing out signed copies of his book. Let me just say that handing out signed pictures at this stage in your career isn't sensible. Looks a tad big-headed, Harry, and to be frank, there may come a time when, like me, you'll need to keep a stack handy wherever you go. But, give a little chortle, I don't think you're quite there yet. They hadn't reached Lockhart's classroom and he let Harry go at last. Harry yanked his robe straight and headed for a seat at the very back of the class where he busied himself with piling all 7 of Lockhart's books in front of him so that he could avoid looking at the real thing. The rest of the class came clattering in, and Harry, Ron and Hermione sat down on either side of a bench. "I could have fried an egg on your face," said Ron. "You'd better hope Creevy doesn't meet Ginny. They'll be starting a Harry Potter fan club." "Shut up," snapped Harry. The last thing he needed was Lockhart to hear the phrase Harry Potter fan club. Then the whole class was seated. Lockhart cleared his throat loudly and silence fell. He reached forward, picked up Neville Longbottom's copy of Travel with Trolls and headed up to show his own winking portrait on the front. "Me?" he said, pointing at it and winking at it as well. "Gilderoy Lockhart, Order of Merlin, 3rd class, honorary member of the Dark Force Defence League and 5 times winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award. But I don't talk about that. I didn't get rid of Band and Banshees by smiling at her." He waited for them to laugh. Few people smiled weakly. "I see you've all brought a copy of a complete set of my books. Well done. I thought we'd start today with a little quiz. Nothing to worry about, just to check how well you've read them, how much you've taken in." Then he handed out a test paper. He returned to the front of the class and said, "You have 30 minutes. Start now." Harry looked down at his paper and read it. "What is Gilderoy Lockhart's favourite colour? What is Gilderoy Lockhart's secret ambition? What, in your opinion, is Gilderoy Lockhart's greatest achievement to date?" On and on and on, over 3 sides of paper, right down to question number 54. When is Gilderoy Lockhart's birthday, and what would his ideal gift be? Half an hour later, Lockhart collected the papers and rifled through them to the front of the class. "Hardly any of you remembered that my favourite colour is lilac. I say so in Year with a Yeti. And a few of you need to read Wandering with the Werewolves more carefully. I clearly state in chapter 12 that my ideal birthday gift would be harmony between a magical and non-magical people, though I would say no to a large bottle of Ogden Old Fire Whiskey." He gave them another rogue wink. Ron was now staring at Lockhart with an expression of disbelief on his face. Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas, who were sitting in front, were shaking with silent laughter. Hermione, on the other hand, was listening to Lockhart with rampant attention and gave a start when he mentioned her name. "But Miss Hermione Granger knew my secret ambition is to rid the world of evil and market my own range of hair care potions. Good girl. In fact," he flipped on her paper over, "full marks. Where is Miss Hermione Granger?" Hermione raised a trembling hand. "Excellent," beamed Lockhart. "Quite excellent. 10 points to Gryffindor. And so to business." He bent down behind his desk and lifted a large cage onto it. "Now be warned. It's my job to arm you against the foulest creatures known to wizard kind. You may find yourself facing your worst fears in this room. Known only to harm can befall you, but know that no harm can befall you while I'm here. All I ask is that you remain calm." In spite of himself, Harry leaned around his pile of books for a better look at the cage. Lockhart placed a hand on the cover. Dean and Seamus had stopped laughing now. Neville was cowering in the front row of seats. "I must ask you not to scream," said Lockhart in a low voice. "It might provoke them." As the whole class held its breath, Lockhart whipped off the cover. "Yes," he said dramatically, "freshly caught Cornish pixies." Seamus Finnegan couldn't control himself. He let out a snort of laughter which even Lockhart couldn't mistake for a scream of terror. "Yes," he smiled at Seamus. "Well, they're not They're not very dangerous, are they? Seamus asked. Don't be so sure, said Lockhart, wagging a finger annoyingly at Seamus. Devilishly tricky little blighters they can be. The pixies were electric blue and about 8 inches high, with pointed faces and voices so shrill that it was like listening to a lot of budgies argue. The moment the cover had been removed, they'd started jabbering and rocketing around, rattling the bars and pulling bizarre faces at the people nearest to them. Right then, Lockhart said loudly, let's see what you make of them. And he opened the cage. It was pandemonium. The pixies shot in every direction like rockets. 2 of them seized Neville by the ears and lifted him into the air. Several shot straight through the window, showering the back row with broken glass. The rest proceeded to wreck the classroom more efficiently than a rampant rhino. They grabbed the ink bottles and sprayed the class with them, shredded books and papers, tore pictures off the walls, appended the waste bin, grabbed bags and books and threw them out of the smashed window. Within minutes, half the class was sheltering under the desk, and Neville was swinging from the candelabra in the ceiling. Come on now, round them up, round them up. They're only pixies, Lockhart shouted. He rolled up his sleeve, brandished his wand, and bellowed, Per pixie pestonemy. It had absolutely no effect. One of the pixies seized Lockhart's wand and threw it out of the window too. Lockhart gulped and dived under his own desk, narrowly avoiding being squashed by Neville, who fell a second later as the candelabra gave way. The bell rang and there was a mad rush towards the exit. In the relative calm that followed, Lockhart straightened up, caught sight of Harry, Ron and Hermione, who were almost at the door, and said, Well, I'll ask you 3 just to nip the rest of them back in their cage. He swept past them and shut the door quickly behind him. Can you believe him? Roared Ron, as one of the rampaging pixies bit him painfully on the ear. He just wants to give us some hands-on experience, said Hermione, immobilising 2 pixies at once with their clever freezing charm and stuffing them back into the cage. Hands-on, said Harry, who was trying to brag a pixie dancing out of reach, sticking its tongue out. Hermione, I didn't have a clue what he was doing. Rubbish, said Hermione. You've read his books. Look at all those amazing things he's done. He says he's done, Ron muttered. Okay, I will see you later to start our next chapter, Mudbloods and Murmurs.